Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, we're popping straight over to America because Donald Trump has been hit with some RICO charges. That's racketeering. India, massive floods. Wilco calling the official receiver. Massive disorder on a world famous street. Gay men attacked in London. Eco protesters climb roof. Triathletes get ill. Cancer patient times scrapped. Horrific crash in Wales. And 80% of the people in the UK are still not happy. I think this is from yesterday. They're still not happy. And it's still nearly 80% of the people in the UK are still not happy. And that's because Britain is a non-progressive, jingoistic shithole. And well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is John and I am a CEO at By Any Means Necessary. For some time now, we have been asking John Ribbs if he could just do us one simple thing, and that is to ask you to sign up, to subscribe to our channel, and he can't even do that for us. This guy has a real attitude problem. He believes he's better than everybody else, so he refuses to ask people to sign up to our channel. And we just think that's an absolute liberty. This man, he believes that his excrement does not stink. If this man was a woman, he'd be too posh to push. A real liberty taker. So I ask you, I have to come and ask you myself, please sign up to our channel. Do us that favour and please sign up. By any means necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. Special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. And today is the best day of the year. The greatest day of any year is today. So Donald Trump has been hit with some RICO charges. That's racketeering because he's running a criminal organization, right? A criminal organization who tried to change the election result. And so now he's been hit with these charges. And obviously this is completely different. And I don't think Donald Trump actually realizes just yet how serious this is for him, because these are state charges, right? And a president cannot pardon himself from state charges. They can pardon from federal charges, from federal, but not from state charges. So, if he was to win, if this case goes before they do this case before the election, then he would, and if he got sent to prison, and believe me, in Georgia, they will send him to prison. There's no messing about that, yeah, because, I just have this feeling that a lot of the people in Georgia, right, especially the older people, can remember Donald Trump from the 70s when him and his dad, right, was charged, because they wouldn't rent their buildings to black people. It just so happens that, that the prosecutor in this case is a black woman, and Donald Trump thinks the best thing he can do is attack. He's been attacking this woman non-stop, talking about, that she was investigating a gang member and then she ended up having an affair with him. But this woman, right, has been putting gang members away from day one from day one that she's been doing this particular job. And she's been hitting them up with like racketeering charges, RICO. That's what she's been hitting them up with. But you've got Rudy Giuliani as well. I believe Mark Meadows as well is on there. A couple others of his legal team, and then you've got the fake electors. So I think there's 18 people that he's been charged alongside with this. And I think that in Georgia that we might actually see Donald Trump in handcuffs, because what, he has been really rude about their prosecutor, right? And it wouldn't surprise me, because if it was me, right, then he would have been in handcuffs from the Stormy Daniels thing. Right. Even in a civil case, I would have tried to put him in. Me personally, I would have tried to put him in handcuffs, even in a civil case. But I think that this prosecutor is going to say, what, you're just taking the piss, right? You are just all the stuff that you've been saying about me, right? Now you're going to do the real perp walk, right? And I think that the Georgia are just going to be like, well, because he's already been warned by a judge, yeah, don't run off your mouth. And Donald Trump was quiet for 24 hours. And then all of a sudden, he just started slamming into that same judge. So that particular judge is going to be calling him back into court any day now. That judge is going to call him back into court, and I think they're going to warn him again, right? But when it comes down to these federal judges, yeah, you don't really want to mess with these people because they will put you on remand, right? I don't know if you know that guy Sam Bankman-Fried, right, from what was it, FTX, I think his company was called something like that, right? But at one stage he had like $22 billion, right? And right now I believe he's in Rikers Island, right? Because you know what? He decided he was going to fuck with a federal judge after the judge warned him, right, and said, listen, I'll take away your bail. And then I believe yesterday or the day before, or maybe the day before that, his bail has been revoked. And now his ass, from having $22 billion, right, and living in the Bahamas. His ass is in Rikers Island right now, but he was in prison in the Bahamas. But anyway, so that's what can happen when you start fucking with these judges. So Donald Trump, really, right now, yeah, he's in a really precarious position because these judges, they don't want to fling his ass in prison because it will just go to all his it's the deep state coming after him and all that. Even though we can look and we can see the actual crimes that this man is committing, we can we all heard the phone call to Georgia. Right, so everybody heard that, right? We've seen other documentation, what they're coming up with, the fake, the whole fake elector scheme, right? Rudy Giuliani had people go and download, data from the voting terminals and things like that, which is highly illegal. You're not allowed to do that type of stuff, right? So, so that's why, this is why the whole thing is racketeering, RICO racketeering, because, it's a whole organization. Yeah, which that's what that charge is actually there for. It's there, to take down whole organizations. And you can say, well, this is what these people have actually been doing, and they're organized, and that's what Donald Trump has fallen into. So he can keep claiming that it's the deep state and they're coming after him. But if the deep state are coming after you, then what you shouldn't do is commit crimes. That's the thing, because if a criminal knows that the police are watching them, at that time they don't go out and start committing crimes. You don't go and do a bank robbery when the police are watching you. Right? You don't go and kidnap someone when the police are watching you. You don't go and rob a jewelry shop when the police are watching you. Right? You don't go and do those, right? Because the police will be like, is he actually committing a robbery right now? Like, yeah. Should we leave him or should we nick him? I mean, that's a good 15-year sentence. So what should we do? So, but Donald Trump has walked right into this. But anyway, so we've got some massive floods in India, which some people say this is down to global warming. Some people go, no, it's not global warming. Look at where we got over here. Even though today's an absolutely beautiful day, and I wonder why. Because today's the 15th of August and a real special day. But these massive floods we've got, yeah. I don't know how much people have been killed by these floods, but I think a lot of these things are down to global warming, and obviously it must have come from, obviously this would have come from like really heavy rain as well. The flood, there could be in the season, monsoon season or whatever. So so that could explain a lot of it. But when I saw it, because I saw like the landslides and all that type of thing, it just didn't, there's houses and all that sliding away, and massive parts of like mountains and sliding away and all that. But let's move back over to the United Kingdom, because Wilco has called in the official receiver, and you have to ask, why has Wilco called in the official receiver? Because in the United Kingdom, it is too difficult to run a business. It is too expensive, and when you've got space and size of shops, like remember all the Argos and all the Woolworths, those size shops, take so much money to run them. They use up a lot of energy, and because right now, and people like the energy companies are making so much profits, they are strangling all stores like Wilco's and all that. And then obviously you've got things like Brexit, which was never going to help someone like Wilco's, because they probably get a lot of their stock in from the EU, or it comes through France, which has made it obviously a lot more difficult and much more expensive. So you've got these massive, so as a result, you've got this massive store, right, whose gas and electric bills would have doubled or tripled, right? And it would have already been very expensive for them, right? So now they've called in the official receiver, but they're still open at the moment. So they're probably still hoping, the receiver's probably still hoping that they might be able to sell the business, because I think Wilco's is a family-owned business, and they've been, what are they? I think they're 90. I think they're 80 odd or 90 odd years old. So they're pretty old. They're a pretty old firm. But one of the companies that you could just get absolutely everything, and they're going to be missed on the high street. That's if they leave the high street. Because up till now, people still talk about Woolworths. That's and that, remember how long ago that was. So Wilco's will be. It's just a shame that they have allowed this to happen, because this country has got into this situation obviously because people vote stupid, and people vote against their own interest, and people vote because what they say, oh, we know what we're going to do, we're going to send that lot to Rwanda, we're going to send that lot to the to Ascension Island, right? And what we're going to do is going to put that lot on a barge and cram them in, and people they vote for that, right? While I don't know if they realise that their vote is against their own interest, and what they do. I think that some of them would actually vote to actually hurt themselves, knowing they're going to hurt themselves. But you know what? If they could just get one little smack on that person over there, right? Then you know what? It's worth it, and that's why this country is in the situation it's in, and that's the reason why big business could not. It's finding it very, very difficult to operate in this country. And I mean, very soon is going to be a lot more fish and chip shops will be leaving this world, because they're not going to be able to survive. I mean, they're already chips is over £3 a portion in some places. Do you know what I mean? And that's unsustainable, really. I mean, that's not really going to be, especially as, in the great scheme of things, wages haven't really moved. So, that's one of the next things that's going to go, because, they use so much energy. So, it's at the moment, I think they're probably just holding on by fingernails. But, along with pubs and things like that, a lot more of these are going to go. And that would be another reason why nearly 80% of the people in this country are not happy. We have had a massive disorder on Oxford Street, where there was I think that one of the TikTok stars asked people to meet down Oxford Street so they can go on a massive robbing spree and just run up in. I think it was they was going to target JD Sports, just run up in there and just run out with as much stuff as they can. You see, unfortunately, when you box people into a corner, and you've got so much people that are, living under a cost of living crisis. And then you've probably got you're probably looking at 25, 30, 35, 40, maybe 40% of those people who are actually living in poverty. And I mean real poverty they're living in. Do you know what I mean? It's relative to, to living in a first world country. What was a first world country? So it's relative poverty to that, So, people, bills are too high. So it's going to be quite easy, right, for a load of youngsters to get together and say, you know what, listen, let's just go and rush this, and just because they need stuff. They can't afford it. They haven't got any opportunities. Opportunities have been taken away from these people. They've been told, well, what's really waiting for you is virtually a minimum wage job. That's what they've been told, because remember that people aren't allowed to come to this country to do minimum wage jobs. I mean, they're virtually telling a lot of these young people, you know what, go and pick fruit and vegetables in a field. Don't bend down all day, bend down on your knees and bend and brock your back to go and pick up fruit and vegetables all day. That's what they're telling a lot of these youngsters, right? And then they're wondering why these people are starting to act lawless. But they're starting to act lawless because, MPs want to pay for duck houses, or to pay their stable, to warm up their stables on the taxpayers' expenses, right? You've got all the PPE scandals. You've got all of these things. MPs behaving really badly. I mean, just look at Boris Johnson, all behaving really, really badly, right? MPs, our very own Home Secretary, right, paying her parents' utility costs at the taxpayer's expense, right? Therese Villas, spoke about her yesterday. Therese Villas, right? £70,000 in Shell, right? And she didn't declare it. These things, all of these things, when they're putting out all these things, and then they're wondering why the people are acting badly, they're just lucky people are acting a lot worse. But the worse they make people's conditions is the worse things they're going to get, because people are going to organise, they're going to do these things, they're going to, and the difference is, soon they might start doing these things off text message, which is a lot more difficult for the police to track. Police can track things like Twitter or TikTok, or Facebook. Police can track all those things and see what's going on. But when it comes down to if they get organised where they're just like 100 of them, or 150 of them, or 70 of them, or 50 of them run up in a shop, right? Because you've got no chance of what of what the shop assistants can really do. They just need to stay out of the way, right, so they don't get hurt. So if you're putting people in this situation, you're making people live in poverty. You're showing them, we've got, look at all this nice stuff. You've got all this nice stuff all over the place. You've got fancy cars this and fancy cars that, and you've got politicians acting really like criminals. Acting like real criminals, the politicians, and getting away with it, right? So you don't expect the people as well to act badly, and especially when it comes down to the youngsters, because the youngsters, as I said, they need stuff, and a lot of times their parents can't provide that stuff that they need. So and if you're not going to give them opportunities, then you've got to expect this type of thing. You've got to expect a very lawless place. And we've had 2 gay men attacked outside a popular gay night spot. I think it was where was it, in Clapham? I think it might have been in Clapham. I think, and they've been stabbed apparently. But it's, again, this is the society that has been built by having the far right run the agenda in the country. Because what they've been doing all this time, they've been attacking the LGBTQ community. That's all they've been doing. They've been doing it virtually on a daily basis. Donald Trump, he lives off of it, right? Boris Johnson, right? 30p Lee has already said, right? The next election, we're going to fight it on culture wars. Because the truth is, the Tories haven't got anything else. So they're fighting on culture wars, but then it leads to this type of thing. People attacking gay people in the streets outside a popular gay night spot, right? Where these people feel very, very safe. But now someone made the whole community feel vulnerable. Eco-protesters climb Rishi Sunak's roof. How the fuck did these people get to climb up on the Prime Minister's house? So, whoa, they climbed up on the Prime Minister's roof, and they done this. They had some oil sheets or whatever it was. They put them all over the house, And I think I think they took them down quite quickly. But it's still just the fact that they managed to do that. It's just terrible. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just a lack. I don't know, a complete lack of security. And I would have thought that the Prime Minister's private address would have had good security. They would have had police officers there, because really, I mean, what happens if someone go and plant something up there? Do you know what I mean? Then the Prime Minister goes back there over the weekend or something like that, and then they blow the motherfucker up. So it's just unbelievable that could actually happen. International triathlons have become ill after swimming in UK waters, in the dirty, stinking water in this country that is full of manure. No, because manure is good stuff. That's the good stuff, right? That goes on our food. Now, On a serious note, this is what's happened to the triathletes, right? Because it is them, and the triathletes is the ones that go to do the swimming as well, in it, because they've got the decathlon, but I believe it's a triathlon, right? Because they do the swimming as well, and they, obviously swimming in the UK waters with all that raw sewage have become ill, and I believe they've had to cancel. I would say, yeah, that's another reason why nearly 80% of the people in the UK are not happy living in this complete shithole. Right? This non-progressive, jingoistic, claptrap, crap country. Right? And that is what the far right has made it. They have had to cancel the targets for cancer patients, like waiting times and that. They've had to cancel it because you know what? Too much people on there. That's the only time you cancel that type of thing, right? Because there's too much people on there. But when, you're talking about, there's a shrinkage of doctors just leaving this country like nobody's business. Because, I mean, make it right. You put that, you have your country run by the far right, and see what happens is most doctors and nurses, right, are lefties. I mean, you don't get caring, you don't get right wing people who are caring, so they don't really do that job. So there's going to be very few of them very few of them that I mean, maybe some of the ones that want that private work and just like how the system is, because they can make a lot more money when the system's like this, other than when the system is, because if the system's in good working order, yeah, then you've got a lot less people taking up private healthcare. When Labour was last in, a lot less people had private healthcare, a lot less, because they didn't need it. Right? Because the wait time, the waiting times was a lot. You could get in, could get in to see a GP. And nowadays, like to see a GP, I don't know how long you have to wait. But so all those things is like it makes it very, very difficult. But the way how they're treating the doctors and the rate that the doctors are leaving at, right? The brain drain in this country is just, it's unbelievable, and I just can't see a way that they can bring this back. Because as I said, yeah, most of these doctors and these nurses are lefties, right? And if they're really caring and compassionate doctors and nurses, yeah, then they will look and they will understand, well, the reason why the health system is not working, it's because you're spending all the money and you're spending all the money in the wrong places. I mean, you're buying a ream of paper for £30. Printing paper for printing for 30 quid plus that or whatever, when you can buy that for £3 in the pound shop. They are so you've got a lot of people, right, who are making a mint out of out of the NHS, and those very people, yeah, are very, these are, you're talking about very well-to-do people, and it's another thing that it's not really something you can change. I mean, people will get killed over trying to change stuff like that, because there's that much money involved in it. Because you're talking about, you're talking about hundreds of millions of pounds every year to individual companies. So you're talking one hell of a lot of money, and those type of systems you just cannot change. They've got it how they want it now. Like where you've got people who have got, like, the contracts to supply the NHS with staff. Those are worth massive money. I mean, those are worth, probably a couple of £1 billion supplying staff to the NHS, and and there's going to be a few companies that have got that, but they're all going to be like run by their directors and all that will be lords. They won't be just like normal. And a lot of these people, they'll live in places like Australia. How they do, they'll live in places like Australia and all that. So that's why they've had to, that's why these cancer time targets have been hit, because of the brain drain what they're having. And obviously, there's so much people on the waiting list now. The waiting list are just getting bigger and bigger by the day. Once you're up to like 7.8 million people on the waiting list, the only place it can go from there is up. And I'm not sure whether or not they're going to be able to declare it in the same way how, because remember when Tony Blair come in, and he did use the private sector to get a lot of this shit cleared up, because the private sector's got fantastic hospitals in the country, and very strangely, all of the same doctors that work in our NHS. There's been a horrific crash in Wales where a car has veered into a campsite, right? You know, when I think it might have went, I think it was actually a van, went over a small, like a escort type van, right? I think it went over a couple of tents, and I think it actually went over a tent that had a baby in it, and I think it went over the baby as well. Do you know what I mean? So just absolutely horrific when I saw that. And let's speak about some Brexit. On a couple of stories though. Travel queuing times to double at the French border. UK passengers at the French border can expect to be waiting for waiting times to more than double when digital checks come in for non-EU countries are introduced, which means that they're going to have to be taking pictures and fingerprints for non-EU citizens. And I'm sure that that is really going to piss off a lot of the real, the people, I've seen comments from Brexiters where they're like, where they was in Europe and they're waiting in one of those queues. And they're like, well, I didn't vote for Brexit for this. And underneath the messages underneath was, no, that's what you voted for. That's exactly what you voted for. You voted to be in the third people's queue where other people are. You didn't vote so you can walk through with all the rest of the Europeans. You voted, right, to be treated badly. And now the EU are really going to stick it to Britain even more, right, with these new biometric checks. The EU have rejected a migrant return deal. So Britain has been saying to the EU, yeah, this is what we want, right? And you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And that's what Britain have been doing. And Britain have been telling the EU, right, that we, right, want to be able to return migrants, right, or asylum seekers, right, to the first place they claimed asylum. And the EU have said, have you heard of the Dublin Agreement? Did you ever hear of that? And Britain's like, yeah, but we're British. And because we're British, right, we expect you to bend over backwards and frontways for us. How dare you tell us? And the EU just said, no, nay, no. Because, the problem is here is that I don't know, but somehow I think that the EU holds all the cards in this situation. Because just the level of stupidity, right? That 1 minute you've got an agreement, right, where you can just say, oh, well, we can return these people to the first country where they seek asylum. We've got that agreement in with the EU. It's called the Dublin Agreement, and we can just do that. We can just return them straight back to if it's Slovakia, right, whether it's France, Germany, Italy, right, whichever European country it was, right, we could just say, you go back to there because that's where you applied. Okay, so you need to go back to there. And now, Britain's begging the EU, oh, please, can we have a new agreement? And the EU starts, what's wrong with the old one? What was wrong with the old one? See the level of stupidity that it's taken this country to get to where it is. It has taken this country, it is a real level of uneducation, right, and racism, right, and stupidity. A bit of bigotry and xenophobia as well from this racist shithole that has got us to this place that we're in. When the EU can just say to us, no, we will not play ball with you. My friends, I have to wrap this up now. But today, my birthday, as I said, one of the greatest days of the year. Because it's always going to be a great day. Always going to be lovely weather. So I'm going to try and enjoy the rest of my day. And no doubt I will see you tomorrow because I've really got to start putting my videos in every day like I used to do. Start putting my videos in all the time again. But my friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.